Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Oh man, this movie, I'm not 100% sold on it. There was some characters that I didn't like in this movie, but I just was like, man, like, this is to be like some Avengers Endgame kind of feels. When you're going on and you're seeing like certain characters being brought into this movie, you're like, yeah. Um, but then also, because I try to avoid trailers, I try to avoid all kinds of things so that way, like, I would be completely just out of the loop of what's going on. But then yesterday, like, I was just going on and just trying to just watch a YouTube video, and all of a sudden I saw a trailer, and I saw glimpses of stuff. I'm like, no, I don't want to know. I want to be completely oblivious about all of this. And so this movie, oh my man, like better than I could have thought it was, even though like I was also thinking about all these kind of number of scenarios that they could have worked out in this film. Um, but it felt that they went on and delivered me like so many things that I was like, wow, this is just thank you, Sam Raimi, for giving me this film, for doing this film. Of course, Sam Raimi, if you don't know, did Evil Dead and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, and he did this movie, and you could really tell like Sam Raimi did this. Because like we have some monsters and stuff incorporated in this film, and so yeah, like I was like, yeah, like the only thing that I possibly didn't like about this movie, besides a certain character, and we'll get into spoilers about that. I uh, I felt like the movie was rushed at points, where like there's like a bunch of just kind of like Russian, like immediately when we start the film, we're immediately like running, and people are like ha ba 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 ha ba ba ba. I'm like, what's going on? Like this like running scene at the beginning of the film where I'm just like, wait a minute, what? Like I wanted to like I would love to have like been able to like slow the film down and then just be like, what did they say there? Like, and there's so many like camera jiggle like moments where like there's so many like kind of rushed kind of like things with camera, but other than that, like everything else, like I think the kind of the rush of this movie was to just kind of be like the big scale of it and everything. Like I was starting to get like exhausted while watching this film because like, man, like there's so much going on, and then there's rushes of things. So I was like, whoo, like, man, this movie. But this is a film that you may need to go on and watch more than once, because you will probably anyways, because man, is this such a good movie, such a good sequel. Oh god, having certain characters, let's just say, in this film, I'm like, oh my god, they're doing this and they're doing that, and there's a possibility for this. Oh, so here's the thing: what will you need to possibly understand this film? I would say WandaVision. If you haven't seen WandaVision yet, check that out. There's a whole reason why we have Wanda, who is in the outfit that she is in, because of WandaVision. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that is tied from that show into this movie. And then I would probably say What If. I get it. What If is an animated show. People probably won't give a rip about that. But if you went in and watched What If, there's a good payout for that in this film. So check that out. I'm trying to be as vague as possible. When we get into the teeing up part, I'm going to tie in some of the stuff that I briefly saw in a trailer that I tried to freaking avoid, but I couldn't. It was unavoidable. I was watching just some like YouTube video, a trailer blipped on, and I was like, no, like I don't want to know anything. But things were spoiled, and I was like, mother, like, I like wanted to just be oblivious to this film. So for those of you that are to go on and have seen the trailer, let's talk about that in the teeing up portion of this movie. So, teeing it up. In the trailer, we go on and we talk about the Illuminati. And so I was like, oh my god, they're doing a team in this film. They're doing a team in this film. But then all of a sudden there is also in the opening part of this movie that is to also possibly set up something else. And so I'm like, okay, and people won't maybe possibly have realized that, and I'll just probably try to explain it, or people might have gone like, well, dude, obviously I'm a comic book guy, so I know exactly where you're going with that. But yeah, so man, was the Illuminati just freaking like blew my mind. Like I knew about it, like I know the comics, like I'm familiar with the Illuminati. These characters have been in the comic books. Um, and so having them here, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be something special. And surefire enough, it was. And I was like, oh my god, they're doing this. They're having this. Oh, I was like kid in candy store with that moment when we saw these characters. And I'll get more specific about it when we go on into spoilers and stuff like that. But I was just so many things that are really just kind of like tying in. And so eventually I might have to go on and watch a certain kind of show soon. And I'll talk about that when we get into spoilers. And so yeah, so we have it where we have Wanda in this movie, and like at first I was thinking that like, oh, they're not gonna write her as like she's gonna be like she's gonna be the helper character for Strange. And I was thinking like, okay, this will be interesting to eventually see who really is going to be the villain for this story. Because I was thinking like, well, what are they going to do with Mordo in this film? Because wouldn't that have made a lot of sense to do something with that character now, considering we've waited so much time for him. But then they kind of waited. They kind of waited on Mordo, so to speak. So I'm like, well, are they ever going to do something with Mordo? Are they ever going to get to that? But so yeah, so the character or characters that they added in this movie, I'll get to that when we get into the spoilers. But just yeah, just there's one character that I was like, I don't care for you. I just like, really, you have to like set up this character, and I'm just like, no. But anyways, so yeah, so great film, epic film. Check it out. I think that's all that I can go into, even just spoilers about, because I feel like I just want to get in and just get into the film. Because really, there were some really good things here. So, like, last bit of teeing up. So, there's a reason why Wanda is to be showcased here so much. For those of you that are to go on and have read the House of M story, you'll know where I'm going with here. And so, yeah, there's a reason why Wanda is to be showcased. Some people might have heard right away that she is going to be the villain in this story. And so, yeah, so there's a possibility of that happening in the story. So with that said, let's just go on. Let's double five this bad boy. Let's just go into spoilers, because it's a movie with multiple dimensions, and eventually we will meet a whole entire number of people in another dimension. So let's get into that. Let's just go into spoilers because I'm not going to say much about this. We'll just go into spoilers. So because I can't like I feel like if I give anything away in the cryptic like sense, besides just giving you a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing. So if you want to hear the whole spoilers, you want to hear all the bits and whatever, hopefully I can remember all of this stuff. So let's get into what, of course, is to be spoiler time. So spoiler time, spoiler time. It's about the time you get to spoil this movie. So in the beginning of this film, we have Defender Strange. Let me reiterate that. Defender Strange and America Chavez in their different dimensional bubble, like not actual bubble, but like both of these characters who are running off from this demon. And so we have Defender Strange that is going on and using his power to try to stall so that way America Chavez can go on and use her power to go to another dimension to find another Strange, or to go on and find the book of Vishanti, which that's what they're running to try to get to this book, which is to be like this good book, where of course the Darkhold book is the opposite. So it's kind of like going on and like if anybody was to watch like The Mummy, like you have like the Book of the Dead, and you have like the Book of like Life or whatever, or Light. Like it's kind of like that, where there's like a good side and a dark side to things. So Strange is desperately trying to use all the power that he can muster to take down this demon, and he's having problems. And so, like, Doctor Strange is just very tempted to take America Chavez's powers from her so they won't be used. And so before Strange can do that, the demon goes on and is to kill Defender Strange. And I'm like, oh my god, what? We have other dimensional Strange that gets killed off here? What the fuck? And so we have it where America Chavez, instead of getting to the book of Vishanti, she instead goes into a portal to end up in another dimension, and is to go on and meet with the 616 Doctor Strange. So we go on and so like they're setting up the Defenders in the MCU, because you can't say that, like, why do you have Defender Strange if not to set up Defenders like 2.0 or whatever. And I'm like, oh my god, please tell me, like, I'm not really sold on America Chavez. I don't really like that character. It just has nothing to do with like her being like, I just don't really like the power set. Like, this character never really like mattered to me. I've seen her in like Marvel Risings and all these kind of cartoonish things, but never really cared for the character. Like, I was always thinking, I'm like, why do they have America Chavez here? They can go on and have a number of different other characters that would have been way more cooler. But they're kind of setting up like a Defenders or a Young Avengers or something like that. And so that seems like I was dope with that. Because I didn't know that this like Strange was Defender Strange until like I went on and just kind of looked it up later. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, okay. So this is Defender Strange. Okay, cool. Because I didn't bother to really do research besides what's going on right now. So Strange is to go on and is, of course, to wake up thinking that he was dreaming. And he was dreaming about that other world. with this Defender Strange and with America Chavez and everything. And so Strange wakes up and is to magically put on his tie and is to get ready to go on to a church where he goes on and meets with Dr. West, who we actually do see in the first Doctor Strange film, Dr. Nick West. And so we have Strange and we have West, who are both talking about being blipped, and I'm like, oh my god, like they're re-referencing like Endgame, and I was like, okay, so like there is still some time that we have to marinate with Doctor Strange and the whole blip thing, which I'm like, yeah, that's so cool. So Strange and Wes are kind of picking up where things left off, and so Wes is to mention, because Strange is to mention like, well, yeah, like I was gone for 5 years, and Dr. West is like, well, yeah, I was gone for 5 years too, and like I lost a brother and a number of other things. And so Strange is like, oh, okay, well, like good catching up, oddly. so so Wes is to go on and tell Strange, it's like, well, like, you know what, like I guess like you become this like overly powerful like superhero, and you save the world and all of this, and but like the only thing that you couldn't get is you couldn't get her. Now we find out that Strange is in this church because there's a wedding going on. And we find out that Christine is getting married. And I was like, oh my god, like she's getting married to someone else that isn't Doctor Strange. I'm like, ha 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 ha, ha. This is great. Horrible, but great. Because that whole like what if episode where like Strange is trying to save Christine from dying and like doing it over and over because like, we go on and Strange is to really love Christine. And so yeah, so we have Christine, who I believe is marrying a guy named Charlie. And so we have the wedding go off. We have this after party. Strange is kind of drinking this this beverage, this alcoholic beverage, and so Christine is meeting up with Strange, and we also had Strange, who is to have this watch on him, this watch where the glass part of it is broken, and you would have thought that it wouldn't have like been an important item, but come to find out, we have this watch item eventually becoming a kind of like a red notice kind of key to everything. If you guys were to go on and watch the Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie, you'll know what I mean. But I'll talk about it when we get into like further into the film. So Palmer and Strange are just kind of talking about things. And so Strange is talking to Christine and just kind of catching up. Strange is just apologizing to Christine and just kind of like trying to like say like he like tried to do the best he could with both of them together, but like she's happy or he's happy that she found somebody, but like all that kind of jazz. So all of a sudden we have Strange having to forcefully go outside to see what's going on. There seems to be some rumblings going on in town, which forces Strange to now have to go on and see what's going on here, as well as eventually Wong is to appear because he's also like the Sorcerer Supreme, and so he is to go on and also try to help out Strange here in the beginning of this movie. So Strange is to go on, and it's so like cool that we have Strange like quickly going from his like regular clothes to just like a cape swoosh, and like he's in his other outfit. I'm like, yeah, that's so cool. And I know it's like an inconvenience for like an actor, but like, God, I have to go on and like I have to go from this now, like swoosh, and like now I have a different set of clothing. But so, but I thought that that was so cool. So Strange is to jump off to make his way to go on with this cape to fight off this item that he can't actually see yet. And so come to find out, when Strange is to use his magic to see this item, it's actually none other than Shuma Gorath, who we've kind of seen it a lot of times in the What If series, like consistently show up. And I would go on into the What If series and consistently mention this thing. And so the Shuma Gorath is trying to find America Chavez and trying to attack her. Shuma Gorath is to go on and try to get America Chavez in this bus and try to get to her. Strange is to open up this bus, take America Chavez out, and then try to protect her. And so America Chavez is trying to run away and escape from this thing. And we also have Strange is like, well, don't I know you from somewhere? Like, how is it that I know you? Like, I just dreamed you. Like, are you somehow familiar to me? And America's like, yeah, about that. So, so we go on and we have Strange that is chasing after the Shuma Gorath, who is chasing after American Chavez. And so Strange is to try to like slice this thing with his magic, as also Wong is trying to help out. So it gets where Shuma Gorath is to be on this building, is hanging on, and Strange is just trying to take care of it, but he's just having issues. So he just decides to take this, I think it's like a metal item, to create a spear. And I think it was like it feels like a traffic light kind of thing, or like something like that. And he just makes like an item that is to be this long spear and stabs this thing right in the eye, killing it off. Because he stabs it in the eye, rips the eye out, and then this thing falls and blah. And I'm just wondering if something as small as that is going to have some effect somehow in another thing somewhere down the road, because that's what I just expect. So Shuma Gorath, dead. So Strange is to meet up with American Chavez to be like okay, like what's up with you? Why are you so important? So America has to explain to Strange that she's from another alternate Earth, and that she was to also come here with a corpse, a Strange that is dead. And so convincing them that she is from a alternate world and Strange wasn't just dreaming. Strange goes on and is to bury into these bricks this strange body. And so now they're going on and they're like, okay, like, so, like, if these characters are trying to go on and chase after the book of Vishanti, then there must be like the opposite. There must be a whole reason that a demon is to go on and be chasing after these people, and they're trying to get to the book of Vishanti. And so we have it where Strange is to only know one person that is to know about the Darkhold, and he can't exactly go to Agent Coulson or anybody from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because technically the Darkhold book, I think at some point, was in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So Strange goes on, and I'm sorry if I'm just drinking water. It's flavored water. So we have Strange going on to meet up with Wanda Maximoff. And so Strange is asking Wanda about like, well, hey, like, you know about the Darkhold or the Darkhold book, right? Like, you know about that, like, do you? And so Wanda's like, well, I'm sure you're probably just really here to just talk to me about Westview. Like, that's what you're really here for. And Strange is like, no, like, if anything, like, it seems that you went on and you brought everything back to the way it was. So, like, no, like, I have no problem with Westview. Like, that's not my concern. I'm just here about that whole, like, Darkhold book or that book that you have. Like, do you know anything about it? And Wanda's like, well, yeah, like, I do know a thing about it because I'm going on and trying to find another dimension where my children still exist. And so yeah, like that's what I'm doing. And like I'm going to use all the magic possible to go and find that universe to get them back to me. And then Strange is like, well, okay, well, like I can't allow you to go on and do that. That just like it just can't be done. Like I'm paraphrasing here, but like so we now go on and have like Wanda kind of showing her card here. And so we have it, of course, where Wanda is to be playing with her kids and both which one were they? I don't remember the kid's name. Billy and Tommy. Cause it's been a while since I've seen WandaVision. Um, I know one of the kids is actually Wiccan, and I know the other one is going to be a speedster. But it's been a while since I've seen that show. But when I did WandaVision, I said both the whatever the alternative kids' names will be. So you can go into WandaVision right on the episode where the kids appear, and I say what their characters will be. But there'll be something important down the road. So they are going to be something, but like if they ever go into it, I don't know. But like I think we've seen these characters enough to eventually possibly say that they may not be a thing. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But pushing on. So Wanda. Wanda is to go on and like I said, she is to be like being a mother with these kids, and then all of a sudden she wakes up and she wakes up alone. To what she is to say, she goes on in dreams and is to have like the most like beautiful dreams and everything like that. And then when she wakes up to her nightmare, realizing that everything was still ripped from her because she had that whole West view where she was to go on and become uh, like a person without vision, without these children, and like she was to get out of her bubble or her perfect life. And so like it was basically like tearing an arm off. But when Wanda was to go on and eventually start using the Darkhold, we start to realize that the real Wanda Maximoff is somewhere inside of what is to be called the Scarlet Witch. And so at some point there's going to be a character that comes up that is going to try to pull the real Wanda out of this Scarlet Witch. But we'll get to that. So now we go on and we have to have everybody having to get ready to go up against the Scarlet Witch. And so now we have everybody, like all of these characters that are to be these masters from these certain countries, like the London Master, the Hong Kong Master, and so on and so forth. All these masters from all these places, and Wong is just kind of like greeting them and just like, well, hey, it's a custom. So everybody and the brother are all at uh, the Kamatage, and they're kind of bracing for the fact that Scarlet Witch is going to come for America Chavez. And so they're getting all of their wizards together, even the less experienced ones, and like all these new recruits and all these characters that they might add in somewhere to be the like the wizards that are to be working with Strange possibly at some point. So, because MCU, or maybe they'll eventually actually be characters that matter somewhere down the road. Who knows? But anyways, so they're in the Comitage, and so they're preparing uh for Scarlet Witch, and they're like, oh my god, like this, like there's no way that we can probably beat this woman, and like it's a whole army against one woman, and I'm like, man, is that awesome. So we have a moment where Strange is to meet up with Scarlet Witch and like chat things out before they go and they battle. And so like we have that kind of very old fashioned like battle thing where we have the two like leaders meet up and like chat for a bit and then walk back and like, okay, like I guess we should get ready. So Strange is to go on, and Wong is like, hey, like don't say anything too harsh or don't tick her off. So Strange is to go on and meet with Witch and just chat out. And so like the main thing that struck me is when Scarlet Witch is to say that everything that she was to go on and try to do here was her always being reasonable, and because she always had this power, and like so she could have really like wiped everybody out if that's really what she wanted to do. But no, like she tried to like restrain herself and try to go through a different way to go about things. And so that just leads to Strange just going back like, well, like I guess we just gotta get it ready. So everybody is to start to put up these defenses, and so now it's all going to just take for Scarlet Witch to whisper in someone's ear to run, to scare them off. And so Scarlet Witch is to find like the weakest of the sorcerers and whisper in his ear to run. And so then she goes on and just wipes all of them out with the exclusion of both Wong and both Sarah, just wipes them out. And so we then have it where both America Chavez and Doctor Strange, like we have America who takes Strange to go dimension hopping. And so now like Wanda is with Wong, and she's like magically tying him up, and Wanda is using the Darkhold, the book, and she is going on and trying to dreamwalk to find a alternate dimension where she is with her kids. And because Strange is just kind of like he's off in another dimension. And so yeah, so we have that. So America and Strange are dimension hopping, and once they find a like a dimension that they can easily just kind of stop in, we have America who's telling Strange, is like, yeah, you're gonna barf soon. And Strange is like, hey, I've been through some blah. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, we have Strange that is always the confident guy, and then he blah afterwards. I thought that was so funny. So, but yeah, like, why wouldn't he? So, Strange is to go on and be in this alternate world, and it seems that America is to be experienced in this world. And so Strange is to look at this traffic light and think that green means go, but green actually means stop, and red means go. So It's like, okay, that's weird. So they go on, they walk through this world, and Strange's plan is that he's going to go on and try to meet his other version of him. So like we have consistently Strange who's thinking like, well, I'm going to go on and meet the me that's the other me that's the other me. Like I'm going to go on and like meet that guy. So so Strange is to make his way uh to make it through the town, and they go and they meet this, they see this little contraption that is to showcase memories. And so Strange steps on this thing and has this memory of both Palmer and him eating a dinner at some point, and having Palmer giving Strange this watch. And so it's like, okay, there must be something really significant about this watch. They keep showing it for some reason. And then they have Chavez's memory about her on her home universe, where like all these women are all wearing these like star badges and stuff like that. And so America is to have like accidentally teleported her parents to an alternative world, and because she can't use her powers all that well, like her powers aren't like what they are, and so we have to go through a character who's relearning her power. So we push on, and all of a sudden we have Bruce Campbell in this film as Pizza Papa. Pizza Papa. So America is to go on and get this snack where it's like these meatball pizzas, and I'm like, oh my god, if someone is to really legitimately make that meal, they will go on and make so much money. And I think someone should actually make that meal. And I think that would be really cool if someone actually did. They would make a load of money. So we go on, and it seems that America is to think that all food is free in this world, because food is free in every world. And all of a sudden the Pizza Papa's like, wait a minute, you have to pay me. And America's like, wait a minute, like you have to pay here too? Like, man, does that suck? Because in every other world, like everything is free. So all of a sudden, like we go on and we have Strange who takes his Pizza Papa guy and like has him like slap himself. And so Strange is saying that this guy will be like hurting himself for a number of weeks. And end credit scenes. The end credit scene is when we go on and we finally have Bruce Campbell stop hitting himself, and he's like, "Oh, it's over." And then the movie ends, and so like that's kind of like the funny end credit scene if you haven't seen this movie. So like that's the end credit scene at the end of the movie. So yeah, like it's a funny little thing that I enjoyed. So we have Strange that is to make it to the Sanctum Sanctorum, Sanctum Sanctorum, the place where Strange is always to be, and he is to see a statue of a Doctor Strange, and the statue reads, "It's like, well, hey, Doctor Strange saved us from Thanos, and like we're gonna have like a statue of him there." So Strange is to go on, instead of meeting another Strange, he ends up meeting Mordo instead. And Strange is like, oh no, like this is a Mordo from another world. And so he's like, yeah, I'm sure this guy hates my guts too. And at some point wanted to like take me down. And like, I always remember from the first Doctor Strange where he's like, well, the rent always comes due, or the pay, the the thing that Strange was to go on and eventually just think that he can willy-nilly do whatever he wants. It's like something will come from that something will come due when Strange is to mess with all these multiversal things and all these times and everything, and like something will eventually come due. So Strange is talking to Mordo, and Mordo's like, "Hey, brother," and he's like, "Hey, buddy," like, "Hey, yeah," like so. Strange is like, "Okay, this is weird. This is strange." So they go on and they go into the Sanctum Sanctorum, and Mordo's having them like drink tea, and like Mordo's kind of catching up with this story and what all has to go on here. And all of a sudden, we find out both Strange and both America are to be drugged. And it's like, like, what did you do with my tea, mother? Or son of a bitch. So we have them go into these chambers that even Strange can't use his magic to get out of. And we have Strange that is to also have these relics on his hands as like handcuffs. And come to find out, Palmer in this world is to after Strange was to die in this world, which is the 838 world. And the Earth that Strange is from is actually the 616 world. And of course, if you've never gone on and read the Spider-Verse books, or really you didn't see like a YouTube video of it, like they kind of explain like that Peter Parker in that world is a 616, where everyone else is just the alternate the Earth. So they're tying in the whole like multiverse of things like in here. So we're the six, like the normal MCU Endgame Infinity War, like that's 616. So and so Strange is to go on and realize that he can't use his magic because of these relics, and Palmer is to explain that. And so Palmer is to know all about multiverses, just like America Chavez has, because she has been to 72 or 73, 74, some odd alternate Earths. And so Strange was to just find it weird when they were to be paint in one of the worlds, and America is just like, well, yeah, like it's really hard to eat there. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sure it is when you're just a blob. So, so we have Strange in America who are locked in here, and so we have Mordo that wants to go on and take Strange to see the Illuminati. And I'm like, yeah, give me the Illuminati. Yeah. So we go in here and we see, like, we can't see quite at first who any of these people are, but then we get introduced to them. So, considering Mordo is the Doctor Strange of this world, he's kind of replaced him. And I guess Wong isn't a thing here, bizarrely. I don't know why. So Mordo is now their world's Doctor Strange, and so now we have to know who the other Illuminati characters are. We find him out. So we find out that Agent Carter is in the Illuminati. Agent Carter, Sharon Carter. We find out that. We find out that also Black Bolt from the Inhuman show, he's in the Illuminati. So if you haven't seen Inhumans, check that out. I saw bits and pieces of it, but I think I'll probably watch more on the Humans after this is to be done with this review. Hopefully I'll be able to see that and whatever. We also have Captain Marvel, but it's a different Captain Marvel. Instead of it being Carol Danvers, it's the Rambeau girl. And so I was like, ooh, like, so, like, that's cool, but I'm also just, like, a little confused. Because, like, in my brain, I was like, well, what about, like, WandaVision, where we have, like, Like I was just a little confused about that. But again, this might be just kind of some alternate world for whatever reason that maybe like uh, uh, that woman was to never go on and die, and maybe she was to live forever or whatever. Um, but like the girl who is Rambeau, not the girl who was in WandaVision, because I think that wasn't the same person. But anyways, pushing on. So, but not only that, we have Reid Richards, who is John Krasinski, the guy from The Office, the guy from The Quiet Place. Reid Richards is John Krasinski. He comes in and he's like, "Well, yeah, hey, hi." Like they set him up as this like genius guy, and so I'm like, "Oh my god, they're seriously possibly going to do the Fantastic Four movie." I hope somewhere down the line, even though with this movie, but still. And then we not only have that, but then we have Professor Xavier, Patrick Stewart, coming in the yellow, like 90s X-Men, like kind of contraption. And I'm like, oh, nice. 90s X-Men reference. And they put in the X-Men music also as he's just making his way in there. I'm like, yeah, yeah, give me that. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is so, I popped so like much at the whole Reid Richards thing. But then like, you gotta tell me that Marvel does not go on and do some fan service. Everybody wanted John Krasinski as Reid Richards, so it just freaking happened. It freaking happened. It's amazing. That was so great. So we all hoped for him to be Reid Richards, and it just became a thing. So that's great. Don't tell you that Marvel doesn't do sand. I popped at that, and then when Xavier came in, I was like, cool. Like this is great. Like cake and eat it too. So they go on and explain that when instead of the Avengers being assembled, I guess, in this world, when Thanos was to go on and try to destroy this world, the Illuminati was assembled, and Strange was to realize the only way that they could save this world is for Strange himself to use the Darkhold or the book. And so Strange was to go on and kill Thanos in this world, but then Strange had to have the Illuminati kill him afterwards. And so, but Strange was like, but wait a minute, like you said that he was a hero in your world. You have the whole statue of him, and it's like, well, yeah, like we did that because he did save us from Thanos, but still, like, he was a threat. Like he even knew himself he had to be taken out, but like he saved so many people, so like we had to do that. And so Black Bolt freaking says that he's sorry and kills freaking that Strange. Some of that Strange, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh my god, Black Bolt, it's here, helmet and stuff, and it's a different Black Bolt, but still, I was like, heck yeah, just give me some of that. So we are to desperately have it where Strange is to ask these people, like, hey, well, like, all I need is the Vishanti book. Like, do you guys have it? Do you have the book? And they're like, well, yeah, like, of course we have the book. And, like, and we have Xavier that is to go on and trust Strange because he thinks that Strange is going to be on their side. And so we have it where Wanda is to go on and channel her other self from this perfect world of hers. And so this other Wanda is like to be dream walking as Scarlet Witch. So Scarlet Witch is to go and find the Illuminati, and man, this scene was so cool. Just so Scarlet Witch goes on and makes it into this headquarters, this place that they're in, and so all of a sudden we have the Illuminati assemble, and so Reid Richards is trying to talk Scarlet Witch down, and so Reid is telling Scarlet Witch here, it's like, well, hey, like, I understand where you're coming from. Like, I have kids too. I'm like, oh my God. So tell me that John Krasinski has like Franklin Richards, and I think he has another kid. He has a daughter besides that. And so in the comic books, like I think that's I don't want to say who the other kid is, but I know it's Franklin, and Franklin Richard is the most powerful character in Marvel comic books. Let me know in the comments below the other kid's name. I don't remember. I think it's a girl, but I just don't remember who it is. Like I want to say it's like Susan or something. I don't know. But you can correct me because that's fine. Because like I didn't really know. Because I just knew how like powerful Franklin was. So I was like, oh my God. Like he has kids. He has kids. You have no idea. So, and you probably do because you're like, oh my God, like this is a different Fantastic Four. So yeah, so shout out to Chris Evans because he may be Human Torch. Who knows? Chris Evans has gone in and said, it's like, well, yeah, I think it'd be fine with doing another Fantastic Four movie. Wouldn't that be amazing? To have like Chris Evans as Human Torch, but I don't know. We'll figure that out when we come to it. Anyways, so but there might already be like a reveal of who the Fantastic Four people will be. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. But anyway, so Reid Richards is to go on and say like it's like, well, hey, I have kids, and Scarlet Witch is like, well, do they have a mother? And Reid is like, well, yes, they do. And so Witch is just like, well, then that's good because when I kill all of you, like, they'll have someone to watch after them. I'm like, oh my God, yeah. So we start to have Scarlet Witch that goes on, and like we didn't even talk about the whole like reflecting thing. Let's talk about that for a second. Also, we had Scarlet Witch who was at the Comitage, and she was trapped in the Mirrorverse when she was in Comitage, and she was to use a reflection to try to get out of it, and then she tried to get back through one of these like watered reflections, and so they try to use everything to get every reflection covered, and then Scarlet Witch was like cracking and popping out of this reflection and came after them. And so that's why both America and Strange had to get out of to a different dimension to escape from Wanda, or from so we have it where like the team comes in, and so Reid is telling Scarlet Witch, it's like, well, hey, like, please don't let us have to go on and use Black Bolt to kill you, because with one word, like, he will go on and say one word from his mouth and he will kill you. And Scarlet Witch is like, well, like, what if he doesn't have a mouth? And so all of a sudden we look at Black Bolt and he has no mouth now. And then Wanda just blows out his head and he falls over and he dies. I'm like, oh my God, Black Bolt, no. And so then Scarlet Witch goes on and just like, Reid is trying to use his stretch power and Scarlet Witch is like, no. So Scarlet Witch just like unravels freaking Reid and kills him also. And just the visual of it just looks so amazing. And so now we have it to where Captain Marvel, Agent or Agent Carter, or Captain Carter, is to go on and have to take down Scarlet Witch, and I'm like, yes, give me some of that. I feel like I'm already like missing somebody, and so we have it, of course, where Captain Marvel goes up against Scarlet Witch, and so Scarlet Witch goes on and is to wipe out Captain Marvel, I think, by going on and like dousing her on fire. We also had the one moment where or no, wait, let me get through all this, and then we'll get to that part. So now Captain Carter's to come up, and she's to start throwing her shield, and she's like, I can do this all day. I'm like, yeah, you can. Yeah. And so I was thinking, like, Scarlet Witch versus Captain Carter. This is going to be some sweet right now. And so what happens is Witch is to take Captain America's or Captain Carter's shield and slice her in half. And now she just falls to the ground, and she's like, bah, and she's dead. And I'm like, oh my, they're killing all of them. All of them are dead. And so now Charles is up, Xavier is up, and so Xavier is trying to stop Scarlet Witch because Scarlet Witch is getting really close to American Chavez, as Strange is talking to Mordo and try to convincing him to having him get back to America. So or to get back to Chavez. So Strange talks and is to mention to Mordo, it's like, you know what, I bet even in this world, like, you hate me in this world. Like, I bet, like, you just secretly wanted me to die or fail or something. And so Strange goes on and is to fight with Mordo to the point of him, like, getting these relics to just be broken, these handcuffs of his. And so Strange goes on and is trying to race to get back to Chavez. And so Xavier is now going into Scarlet Witch's mind and trying to retrieve, like, Wanda from out of Scarlet Witch, and Xavier, who can now, like, kind of walk in this mind and try to retrieve this girl. And Xavier is telling Wanda, it's like, well, hey, if I can be able to just kind of pull you out of here, like, I think that you'll be saved. Like, I think that you'll be, like, okay. And like, Charles is trying to pull. We have Scarlet Witch who comes in and snaps Charles's neck, and he falls over on his yellow, like, thing that just is wheeling him around. And I'm like, oh my god, wait, Charles is dead. Xavier's dead. There isn't going to be an X-Men, like, House of M, like, is there going to all of a sudden be another X-Men movie where there isn't a Charles Xavier? They're just going to have to limp on with it just being the aftermath of all this Strange. Like, I'm waiting for that, where there all of a sudden is all these movies that are like, hey, this is Fantastic Four, maybe. Hey, this is X-Men without Charles Xavier. This is Captain Marvel without that Marvel. This is Black Bolt, Inhumans movie without Black Bolt. So I'm just waiting for if there's an aftermath to all of that, and if someone's gonna step up, possibly after all these people are dead in these multiverses. But again, there might be some equivalent to all these characters. Anyway, but pushing on. So America is to be able to use her powers to bust out of this cage, and Palmer is trying to bust America out also. So at some point, America is to realize that she can get out of this cage. She can use her powers. And so we have America, and we have Strange, and we have uh, Strange and Palmer, who go on to this other Earth, and so America is now with Wanda, and so now what is going to happen here is Wong is with the Scarlet Witch tied up, and so we have one of the sorcerers that is still alive, who is Sarah, who's going to try to destroy the Darkhold and kill the book. And so she kills the book, but while she does that, she also kills herself. Because Wong is like, well, hey, I'm going to get to the book. And Sarah's like, no, I'll do it. She ends up hitting the book and dies. I'm like, well, I guess that's a short life for that character. Sadly enough, as she's crying, as like she's now like this ash. So Scarlet Witch is now back to where she is, and she is now ticked at Wong. She says like, oh my god, like you destroyed this book. But then, like, Scarlet Witch is like, but wait a minute. There has to be some other kind of Darkhold here somewhere. And, like, Wong is the only one that knows about it. And so, like, what is it, Wong? Where is it? So, we go on and find out that Wong is to know a place where there is another Darkhold, that book was just a copy of something that already exists. And so they have to go to Wunagor, or Wundagor. And so they go on to Wundagor, and this is to be this kind of like area that is to stow like this throne that is to have a picture of Scarlet Witch in the background. And we all of a sudden have the Knights of Wundergar, who are all these big, massive, monstrous-looking creatures that kind of go, "Wah!" and kind of scare people. Because it scared me. It's like, I was like, what the is that? So, and these guys are called the Knights of Wundergar. And so, like, there's a whole comic book backstory about these characters, and, like, Wundergar and everything like that. So there is like some kind of thing that you can go on and like fully know about the Wundergar, and so like that's cool because I went on and I like searched it myself and just found out things about it. It was really interesting. So we have Scarlet Witch sitting at this throne, and so she's going to at some point use America Chavez and kind of use her. So we have Strange and Palmer that is now on this Earth where it seems that like all has been lost. That we just kind of see this like world where everything is just kind of like just kind of floating in the wind, or kind of just floating, like it's like existing and not existing. It's kind of like it's a horrible world where I guess like it's kind of like the one ending of Doctor Strange, where like stuff is just kind of like fizzing away. So because we find out in this world that we have a Doctor Strange who is to go on and use the Darkhold, and he was to be fairly successful at just kind of wiping everything out. And so Strange is to, of course, do the exact same plan where he was in the alternate world before, where he's like, well, I'm going to go on and meet the other me, because there has to be another me. And so here's the thing. Since I've gone on and said all this stuff, so here's some characters I would have actually liked in this movie. I wasn't won over by American Chavez, but here's some interesting characters that I would have liked in this film. I think a lot of people were weirdly building up like Superior Iron Man being in here, with Tom Cruise being that for some reason. And maybe that'll eventually be a fan service thing enough where everybody's like, well, that sounds like an interesting idea. Unless they want to, like, I don't think they're going to bring Robert Downey Jr. back. He's done, like, he's fine with just going on it, so let him be fine with it. Like, you can come up with alternate versions of that character. At some point, you could have a younger Tony Stark. You could have a number of other things that kind of go on in that story and be alternate versions of Iron Man. So, so that would have been a really interesting thing, also, or that would have been an interesting thing. Two, Magneto being somewhere in this film. I understand you probably don't have Ian McKellen, that maybe isn't interested in to have done like a guest appearance in this movie, but man, would it have been cool. Just have some kind of version of Magneto, either Michael Fassbender or just like some kind of version of Magneto to show up and be like, "Hey, I'm Magneto." Like, "Hey, like Scarlet Witch or Wanda, like, I'm your father, and I'm gonna convince you to, like, don't do this. Like, come on." Or also I'd have liked Vision to just be here and like either like Vision or like the other version of Vision to just kind of like again try to convince Wanda to not do what she's doing. That would have been cool. That would have been great. But also I would have liked I think most of the time I know him as Brother Voodoo, but like Doctor Voodoo would have been an interesting character to add on as a alternate Doctor Strange. That would have been more interesting than I think Mordo being just like, "Oh, well, this is the Doctor Strange in this world." I would have been just like, "Well, wait a minute. Like, what about Doctor Voodoo or Brother Voodoo?" That would have been a cool Strange at some point that we could have used in one of these worlds, but still. Um, so those are like small meat and potatoes. Uh, there might be a way to introduce those characters somewhere down the pipeline in a number of things, and so that will be cool if that ever happens. But like, I was so happy with what we got, and so like those just kind of feel like a nitpick at the end. But so pushing on. So, oh my god, this is an hour. Oh my god. But it's well worth it. It's a 2 hour movie. It's really good. So we have Strange meeting with alternate world Strange, Darkhold Strange. So he goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum or Sanctum Sanctorum. I'm sorry if I ill pronounced the name of that place. And so Strange meets with this Strange and like kind of feels that this Strange is to kind of be like a little bit more like it seems weaker than like it looks like he's kind of like the way he's walking and just kind of like he feels like an older version weirdly of this Strange. So we have Strange meeting with the other Strange because when Strange and Palmer trying to race to make it to the Vishanti book, Wanda ends up destroying that Vishanti book, pushing Strange and Palmer off to this other world because they were going on and chasing to find in this place where this Vishanti book was. And once Strange uses this watch to open this thing, he goes on to try to get to the book, and Scarlet Witch destroys this book. And so now, like, we just need Strange, who is to just find the Darkhold book because he can't get to the Vishanti book. So Strange is talking with this Strange, and so we have this Strange that is asking our like the 616 Strange, like, well, hey, like, how am I like another Strange of you? And so we have Strange who goes on our Strange and has this story about his sister and how like his sister had died at some point when he was young and this whole story and like how she fell through this ice And so that the other Strange was like, well, I guess there's a story that I had similar to that, but you're right. So now, like, Strange is to realize that this Strange is to have the Darkhold book, and come to find out this Strange is to have used this book to just kind of wipe out the world, because he was to go on and have, in his world, Palmer was to get married and was to ask this Strange if he was to be happy. And he's like, well, yeah, like, I'm happy, but actually he turned around and he wasn't happy at all. So he decided to get this book and just destroy everything. And there was nobody strong enough to stop him. And so now Strange has to fight this Strange for the Darkhold book, and of course he obtains it. He starts to use spells. He ends up getting a third eye, like the other Strange did. He takes the other Strange down, and so Strange is to use the Darkhold, and now it's a dream walk, and Palmer is going on of like, wait a minute, like, how are you going to be able to get to Wanda? And Strange is like, well, like, I don't need an alive version of me to get to her. So Strange was to go on and bury that dead Strange, and so he uses this dead Strange to then become a corpse Doctor Strange. Is like, yeah, like, so he's like, I think he's like Defender Strange, but he's a corpse. And so I was like, man, this is so cool. So Strange is telling Palmer that to just kind of be on the lookout for a number of these like demons that are trying to like attack him, so she can protect him. So Palmer goes on and is to use these certain items against these certain demons that arrive. So Strange is to fly his way all the way using these spirits as his cape, because his red cape is to have a hole in it, and so at some point he's going to hope to get that repaired. So Strange goes on to make it to Wundergar and is to fight with Scarlet Witch to try to get American Chavez. And we have the Knights of Wundergar trying to defend Scarlet Witch, and Strange just goes on and just kind of pulls all them off and just and tosses them all out off to the side of this mountain to die. And then Wong is to try to like desperately be hanging on through this mountain, because he was like on this edge of this cliff, almost thinking that he was going to fall over. And so he eventually gets onto the top of the mountain where he's going to like fight out here or help out Strange. So Strange is fighting Scarlet Witch here, and we get a moment where Wong is possibly thinking that Strange may have to take America's powers away from her. And so Strange is like, well, yeah, I think that might be the idea of the way to go about this. But then instead, Strange goes on and is to tell Chavez that's like, you know what? Like, instead of you going on and like having me take my powers away from you, how about you go on and you figure out a way to beat her? Go on and figure out a way to convince her that she's doing something wrong. Do that, because I believe in you, like your parents did, and someday you will come back to them once you figure out where they are, and so you're going to find them. Believe me, you will. So America's like, well, yeah, like maybe I should. So America goes on and is to take Wanda and is to teleport her to that world where she was with her two kids, and like they were at one point singing some ice cream song. And so Scarlet was in this perfect world, and so she was to see that this Wanda was with these kids, and so Scarlet Witch was to push this other like Wanda like away from her kids, because she's like, no, they're my kids. And so she pushes these kids away, and all of a sudden, these kids are defending their mother away from this Scarlet Witch. And so, like, these kids are kind of pleading that this woman is to stop hurting their mother. And she's like, but I'm your mother. Like, realizing that whatever Scarlet Witch is going to do is not going to win over these kids because they aren't really hers. Like, she never really had these kids. Whatever she is to do is to not work here. It's another world. They've already like set up so many things in this other world. So Scarlet Witch is to realize the error of her ways, and so she is to turn around and just be like, well, like, thank you for like showing me the true error of my ways, kind of thing. So Wanda decides that she is going to destroy every single universe's like Darkhold, and every single like mountain thing that is to have the Darkhold in it. So Scarlet Witch is to destroy the Darkhold that she is to be in, this throne and whatever. She's to destroy the whole thing, and it looks like it collapses onto her. So I'm like, wait a minute, is Scarlet Witch dead? Is she gonna come back as Wanda? Like, what's going to happen here? But so, like, Wanda is assumingly dead. And so now we have both Strange and we have uh, Palmer here that are talking. And so Strange is to be so tempted to have Palmer come back to him, to his Earth, because he's loved her and he's always loved her. And like, he like doesn't want to be left alone, and Palmer's like, well, like, I'm sorry, but it just like has to be that way. So yeah, so Strange is to make it back to his world, and like everything is to be like set right from where it is. We have Chavez, who is to be taught with all these other newcomers to the Comitage, and so Wong is just kind of teaching all these students how to go on and learn all these spells and everything like that. We had the one moment also where Scarlet Witch, to try to get information out of Wong, was to torture all these, was to bring all these students back to life and continue to torture him right in front of them. I was like, oh my god, that's brutal. But it was so, like, it was like, yeah, that's the one way to go on and get Wong to speak. So at the end of all this, we also have Strange, who's to refix his watch and is to go on and put on this nice suit and start walking, or like put on these nice clothes and start walking through the town. And then all of a sudden we have the third eye of the Darkhold that is like, that's like dropping Strange down. And I'm hoping that I've gotten to almost everything through this movie, for the most part, because it's an hour and change anyways. So Strange falls over, and so now we have an end credit scene. So we have it where we all of a sudden, in an end credit scene, have Strange, who is kind of like working through him, just kind of just having that problem with his third eye appearing. And so all of a sudden we have, I believe her name is Clea, who is Charlize Theron, who is to appear and cut a hole through this world to have them go to the dark dimension. And so Clea, I believe, in some stories, is possibly Doctor Strange's wife, is what I'm assuming that is. Or it could probably be Doctor Strange's like sister, but I'm assuming it's Doctor Strange's like actual wife. So that'll be cool if they like have Strange eventually like have a wife somehow in this movie. But yeah, so they're going to the dark dimension to figure that out, and I already said what the second end credit scene is, so I think I've gone on and I've hopefully mentioned everything that happens in this film. I want to get out of here so I can go on and hopefully fuse all these clips together and get this out as quickly as possible. So with that said, I think I'm going to get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody. Let me know in the comments below if there's any Easter eggs that I missed out on. Let me know if there was any like references and stuff that I didn't get, because that might have happened. Other than that, yeah, like I hopefully I covered everything, or I felt like everything was covered. You can correct me about the relic that was to be Strange's cuffs, because that's great. But either way, like I thought that this movie was just great. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.